Welcome to Scrappy Systems, a candid marketing showcase where we skip the fluff and get real about how solo founders, consultants, and creative misfits actually market themselves online. Every month, our host Cans and a special entrepreneur guest will unpack the messy, clever, and wildly human systems behind real business growth, so you can steal what works and leave the rest. Got questions? Good. Let's figure it out together in today's episode.
Yay, welcome, Marisa.
Hi, Candice.
How about you tell everybody what you do every day?
So I'm a content and product marketing freelancer and strategist, and a co-founder of a accessory fashion brand that I'll also talk a lot more about, Spicy Ava. But yeah, I mainly work in B2B. At the moment, I do a lot of work for fintech clients, investment clients, even SDR as a service, which is a really, really interesting industry by itself. Across the board, I come from an edtech background, so I sometimes do project work for some edtech companies, which is really, really great because it really feels so ingrained. But yeah, I have a big journalist background. I've been in content most of my life. And I have a big passion for fashion. I have a passion for all types of content, specializing as a freelancer in more the B2B space.
I really love that. Living the self-employed life, of course. I really love that you spoke about all those different industries, because it can be very difficult to think of a content strategy for one brand, never mind one that will work across so many different industries, so many different brands. And that's something that I opted out of. I'm not going to lie. When we got into that part of specialization in marketing, I was like, that is not for me. So what kind of people do you work with?
I mainly work with founders, so founders and CEOs, and it's actually the fit is quite good for me, I would say, because I come from a startup background. There's often not a lot of people on the team. You have to wear so many different hats. But then working closely with founders, which I think in startups happens every day, and everyone is in everyone's business all the time. So you have to kind of get used to that, and also get used to people who are extremely passionate about their business and can be really blunt and really direct. So getting used to that kind of feedback. And I think I now really want that kind of feedback. So when I have a meeting monthly with one of my founders or startup business owners to run their LinkedIn content strategy, then I want that feedback, because you don't want to move ahead with something that they don't want. You want to fix it then and there, or to regroup every month and really, really produce the best kind of content. So it's a lot of my clients are definitely kind of in investment and sales founders. And then there's a few projects that I do that's often smaller marketing teams, or actually I would say even teams that don't have any marketing at all. And then you kind of have to kind of recommend and consult a little bit.
That's going to be quite difficult, working with people who they might respect marketing, but they may not feel comfortable with it. Is there a way that you help clients get more comfortable with creating the content creation process?
It's quite interesting, because I think a lot of people who are especially on LinkedIn and or founders or small businesses, small brand owners, they are very opinionated around what they want. A lot of them are already kind of up and coming thought leaders, but those who aren't, it's really good to kind of show them what is out there, what other people are doing, looking at competitors or people that they want to emulate, but then really working with people to find what makes them unique and also what they're comfortable with. So, for example, I've worked with someone who I recommended, say, certain videos or content pieces, and they were just not comfortable with that. They were just, nope, I can't do that. It might be trendy and it might be something that does well in terms of reach or engagement rate, but he felt it didn't suit his business. It didn't feel authentic to him. And that I completely respected. And as you get to know the client, all of these things come up and you really figure out what works for them. So then we started more just organic kind of content creation process where it's really showcasing people within the business and highlighting kind of just what they do day to day, what they find interesting, and building out kind of their company image in that way. And that felt much more natural. Every business is so different, and you can see all these trends and content ideas, but then thinking about what feels natural to me. So that is something that you can't push something on a client. You have to kind of see what works for them, and sometimes it takes a bit of time, but hopefully you eventually get there.
100%. And I guess that's the definition of having to get scrappy with what you're working with. You can't force yourself. Obviously, you have the other side of the coin where you are an entrepreneur. You understand what they are going through, what they have to deal with on a day-to-day. And for you, you may be very happy with making videos and taking photos, but I see so many people trying to force themselves into a mold that doesn't work for them, and then they hate it and they resent it, and then it doesn't work. At that point, I really want to jump into our first big segment for tonight, which is the system breakdown. And I really want to figure out for you, from your perspective, what content system is working really, really well, or is performing very strongly for you at the moment?
So if I look at Spicy Ava, which is our startup business, we mainly focus on Instagram. And this is just kind of our community that we've built there. And we get most of our conversions kind of coming from there. But in terms of system, that community building is a system in itself, because it kind of, you feed the system, it feeds you back. It's really about nurturing that community and constantly testing and trying new things. And now we eventually came to this place where, because we put a lot into our community, we know people's accounts, we comment, we don't stalk. We really are interested in the women, mainly women, who follow us in that community. So we comment on their stories. We sometimes, mention them in certain things that we're doing. We'll even WhatsApp some people, we'll email them to ask them to maybe, oh, have a nice happy birthday, small things. And that's so interesting, because I've been out in public where I actually met some people that follow us, and they would come up to me because I am featured in some of the content. But then I recognize them and I'm like, oh, yes, you're a graphic designer. And small things like that has helped us to really know our audience, and we constantly ask them for feedback. And now we even made some people part of our content creation system where they're able to receive products on a monthly basis. And now that content generation machine and that system is kind of like, it's starting to work for us, where we get UGC created for us just automatically before a big launch, or just like on a day-to-day basis. And it's even really great. We just launched something yesterday, like a new scrunchie. And even some people who follow us, they didn't have to promote it, but they even just posted something randomly. People with big followings. And I think that's really important in terms of like building that community system. But it's still, a lot of trial and error. But it's also important to have in place like a few consistent things, like a weekly newsletter, post every day on social media, on stories quite a bit, have a nice variety of content. And this is something to have those consistent touch points with your audience is really important as you're trying to figure out like everything else. But when you have those consistent touch points, the feedback you get from there, the analytics, the learnings, you can then take that and move forward into your content system and like refine your content, because we constantly look at the analytics, and we don't want to post content that people are not responding to. So we're constantly kind of like trying to fine tune that.
I mean, you know me, community is my favorite word. So
Yes.
I really love that. And I want to go back to one thing which I think a lot of people take for granted potentially is your audience. You're communicating with them, you're following them. I actually had someone the other day show me his account, and he was like, I don't understand why no one follows me, why no. And I looked at his Instagram, and he was following other designers, he was following other printers who were not particularly going to buy from him ever. They were never his audience. They were people who do exactly what he does. And I think people maybe don't understand that you actually have to curate your audience on Instagram. How do you go about that?
What was interesting to us, and I think it is different for like a brand versus your personal account, we all started zero, right? Like zero on Instagram. So when we started last year, August, we had zero. We now have like 1,200 followers on Instagram, but it's also about they have to be engaging followers, because if you have like 10K, but you get like 5 likes on a post or like no comments, then it's not really helpful. But what I think we did really well is we kind of identified some people early on that we wanted to work with, and then kind of like consistently worked with them to get mutual benefit in a sense, but also like access to audience. So right at the start, when we launched Spicy Ava, we asked this one influencer, content creator, that we really loved their style. And that's for us also, you have to legitimately see that person wearing what you create. We created a collab with her, and at that time we knew we couldn't pay her, but we're also like, we don't want to not pay people. We actually worked on like a revenue basis where we actually said to her, you can design a product with us. And then it's such a nice thing also for her, because she was very creative, to work on a product with us and then also chat to her audience about this process. And people are very interested in that process. So it brought in her audience. She's such a high converting influencer because her community is so in love with her and so supportive of her. So I think that at the beginning was a really great way to bring in like new people into our community, and a lot of them stayed and a lot of them bought products from us. But then also you always have to give it back, and also just kind of like invest in them, and along the way just send someone a little gift or nice comments or whatever. You have to engage with them, create content that could be beneficial to them. And so it's always like a two-way thing. It's not just like putting it out there, you know.
That makes
Exactly.
so much sense. And I really love that partnership approach. And I think for anyone who's starting with no followers, it's actually a really good way to build an ecosystem around you of maybe, I guess it's an influencer marketing approach, but without having to pay influencers. And on the one hand, it's great because as a brand, you could probably find people to work with you, but as a brand, you could probably volunteer to work with other smaller brands as well.
We just said from every sale, you know, that we make, X amount of revenue will go to you, or like that profit sharing. But then it also then gives the person the incentive to promote it more. But it is really, you can go through so many different people, working with different people on different small projects, and they won't get the same amount of engagement. So it's really about thinking like who fits or suits your brand the best and who people resonate with.
That makes so much sense. Okay, and the other thing I really want to ask is, you speak a lot about feedback and like how community is so important, because I mean, you can have an MVP, but if you never get a real tester, then you know you can't get real data. But how do you then turn feedback or those conversations and those connections into content that actually reaches them? Like, what is that process?
Mm. Say like with some of our products, and I think this was something that we wish actually we did right from the start, you know, was to ask feedback along the way. So say even if it is okay, we're developing different colors. Like, what colors you prefer? Do you prefer this pattern versus plain or whatever? Just like asking that feedback on like Instagram stories or with a reel or a poll. Or we actually DM'd a lot of people who we really like their style and really value their opinion. So we would ask them a few questions and send them one of our products as a thank you. So then using that to feed into like the product development, products that we potentially want to create, and get feedback from the beginning on that. Like, oh, we really like this. It's like really trending. We're starting to make this little bag. What do you guys think? Like, it's not going to launch necessarily, but really getting, like that feedback instead of we're making this product, which color should it be? So it must always go further back where it's like, should we even make this product? Will you guys buy it for how much money? And that's also something that was interesting with our most recent launch is I just realized, like, I kind of felt like most people would buy the black scrunchie and the white one has done way better. So it's just interesting to me how people kind of like see it because often there's someone who likes something plain. There's always a market for that. And then, but most of the time, our products that are really vibrant sell the best. So I was just kind of like curious. So I made a video today actually just asking our audience, like, why this one? And it's just interesting, like these small things of like what I think about, oh, why this one? Because I really want to know. It's a nice way to then feed that back and then to think about the next product that we release. Should it be more like X or Y or because you start to see those trends in what people are wearing or buying, and yeah, so it's always a learning experience.
So what I'm understanding is like you've actually like hacked product development and content creation in that like you don't have to go and make content if your content is product development. It's like the whole build in public process, taking people on that journey, just sharing as you go. I mean, that's also a fun thing to get people involved in. Like you're encountering a problem instead of like sitting there, like trying to figure it out, like you're some genius and you know what your audience wants, like actually get out and ask them.
Yes, exactly. So a while ago we did a shoot and I shot most of the content and my camera broke like right at the beginning. And it's just like small things like that that I shared because, there's so many failures, there's so many wins, but you have to kind of like take your audience along for the ride. And I think this can be something that's more difficult to implement with, you say, like B2B content or, within certain industries, but there's always a way to kind of like share the everyday, share the process, ask for feedback that can work.
I really love that. I really do. And I just have to have a moment to say to everybody who's here, who's watching, if you're enjoying this, please like and subscribe, comment if you're enjoying. And that actually takes us into the next segment of tonight. And that is the Steal the Strategy segment. Now, this is where I really want to know one simple, effective trick that you would share that has always worked for you. What is a strategy that is your winning one?
It's always thinking about the user, of course, but thinking about that first and like how they want to consume that content, how they want to be spoken to. So it takes a while to figure out that audience, but that's why like asking as many questions, getting as much feedback as possible is so important to help you kind of like shape your ideal customer or the different personas that you're selling to. Especially for clients, that is my approach with something like Spicy Ava, that is now almost like I'm in a lot of the content also, but it's a lot of trial and error. You have to think about like why would they want to consume this? Like why would they want to spend even 30 seconds watching this video? Why is this interesting? There's no like foolproof way to create content.
100%. I think everyone does it differently, and the medium that you use, it's really going to change how what your creative process is. Is there one way that you find to be particularly effective to get feedback through Spicy Ava?
In terms of like the content that we create, it's really sometimes quite random things, or it's not like highly produced. It can be something that is just quite a little what we do, like say a day in the life of like a business owner, or what has worked extremely well for us actually has been, say, like the behind the scenes, or like talking about the process. So like we're launching at the end of next month a product, then the lead up to that, going through the process of like the inspiration, the mood board, the how we created the packaging for this product. Every little bit, you can take everything that you do that you often don't tell people about. You can talk about each of those parts of that process up to launch, like even like driving to the shoot, small things like that, buying things for the shoot, talking to the models that will be in the shoot. So people are so interested in that whole process. And you, again, like if that's not your world, that it's like, say, fashion or e-commerce or whatever, you have to find a way to bring that authenticity, or like that every day. You can apply that to most brands. You just have to find the way that like works for you.
Find the way that works for you.
Yeah. And that's what Scrappy Systems are. I also feel like, because it's like it works for me, my Scrappy system, but it might not work for everyone. So it's something that might also not work initially, but you make it work eventually, and you switch out products, tools, that kind of thing, but it works eventually.
Well, talking about tools, now we get into the Scrappy Stack portion. I would love to know, what is the one tool that you really love that you think people don't talk about enough?
Well, that's quite a difficult one, because I mean, I don't feel like I use that many tools, but that's also a thing. Like at the moment, I would love to, like, my favorite tool is like any project management tool. At the moment, I mean, I don't have Asana, I don't have a project management tool. I have like my partner that for Spicy Ava that I work with, that we have daily check-ins. We have, say, like 4 different types of WhatsApp channels that we actually have, like production, we have our everyday Spicy Ava things. I use a time-stamped calendar actually for me. I don't know if you can say that's a tool, but for me, that is like a day-to-day accountability tool that I feel not that many people that I've spoken to use. It probably depends. Maybe marketing people use it more, or I don't know if you have a lot of meetings, but it's really for me kind of like setting my priorities for the day or the week, and ensuring I kind of like execute on them. So, and kind of like as you think about something, I also just like add it in.
I love the really early non-project management phase. How do you manage to keep track of your content? Do you plan? Do you schedule batch? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, so a lot of it from the beginning was kind of just like ad hoc, like content. And then as we started to really look at performance and what's working, what's not working, and we had to actually think about, okay, launches, and you have to work backwards really and think about, okay, what is everything I need to plan for this month, because we now know this type of content works. We need to like put this on Instagram before the end of the month or before launch. So we have Notion, we have weekly check-ins, monthly reports that we kind of look at, okay, what's going into next month's content. And that's really about looking at our main content pillars that we wanted, like from the beginning. This has changed a little bit, over time.
Yeah.
But the content that we want to create, or like the pillars, and then looking at what our engagement and our analytics look like on a month-to-month basis, and refining that content continuously. Right now, we only have really Instagram and TikTok. So we just actually schedule our content on Instagram. We don't post as much on TikTok. We really want to figure out that one a little bit more. Because I mean, the same content, it just doesn't always work on both at all. And sometimes we've used TikTok as a taste for posting it on TikTok first and just seeing the reaction. But obviously, our following on TikTok, it's way more random versus like Instagram. It's like dedicated following, very engaged group. So, and more like invested. So it's definitely important to taste and play around with those two.
Interesting. I think a lot of people get bogged down with like, what are my content pillars? What do I post? Like, do I have the right thing? And then they try. And I mean, I think I'm one of those people. I think I'm definitely talking about me here. I post and I do my best. And the only time I really get good engagement is when I make a fool of myself. And when I do it on purpose, obviously, but that is when I get the best engagement. And like, I don't want to turn into a clown for my brand, you know. And I think a lot of people feel like that. They're like, I don't want to be like dancing around and like so if you were to like advise someone like me, you know, or you had to get a new client who literally they're there every day, they're posting every day, they are trying, they may have lots of followers, but they're not getting engagement, they're not getting people to actually comment, what should they do? Like maybe if there's like a 3-step.
So obviously thinking about the types of content, like your pillars, really thinking about that long and hard, and also asking like advice from people who are in your community, not necessarily on the platform. That can be on the platform or say on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever, but also just like asking people. We sent direct messages to a few people to really get their honest feedback, because then it's much more in-depth feedback. And then like looking at those pillars and then drilling down into what types of content you want to create in terms of format within that. Like, say, are you comfortable with a face to camera video? You don't want to necessarily do like a TikTok dance if you have like an investment company or whatever. So really thinking about that long and hard and looking at what other people are doing, and then sometimes putting yourself out of your comfort zone, sometimes not. The only way you'll do it is if you plan it properly. And that is really with all of my clients. So like we plan a month ahead, sometimes 2 months ahead for content. Even if you have to film some content, to do that all on like one day, and then you have it ready for the next month. It's really about getting serious about like what you want to say. And I know like with engagement, it can be so difficult, but it's really good to reach out to people, because obviously if you're not getting any engagement, then that's not the type of content that your audience wants. So just like asking more questions.
100%. And I guess also the platform that you go to, right? If I post something on LinkedIn and I post something on Instagram, I can't post the exact same thing. And I think like, I mean, I do. In most cases, it's just like get it out, you know, like share it everywhere. But on LinkedIn is a great place to go if I am sharing something like educational or thought leadership-y. But if I'm like complaining about work being really hard, then actually a meme or a reel or a face to camera on Instagram might be a better channel for me, you know. How do you suggest people pick that first channel to get started with if they haven't yet?
For us, it was really almost like a no-brainer because it's fashion content, and Instagram lends itself more to like fashion inspo, like how to stay in the life, get ready with me. Whereas TikTok is more like conversational. It can also have some of that, of course, like get ready with me content. But we wanted to like really be close to our community. And Instagram is more about community. You follow more of your friends, plus like other people that you don't know. But then TikTok, it's like most of the time you just follow random people. That might be, you know, quite a stretch for someone who is like in marketing, it's good to be on Instagram. It's probably good to be on LinkedIn, but you don't necessarily have to do that much more unless you are able to later on, you know. But I think in terms of choosing, you must really think about also, again, what comes more naturally to you. So if you're great at educating people, then find topics that you can present in really interesting, different ways on LinkedIn that like works on that channel. Or if you want to do both, so like Instagram and LinkedIn, then think about your topic, but break it up so that it is different in the sense that you're presenting it different on Instagram versus on LinkedIn. So your video that you posted on Instagram can be changed a little bit in video, or in terms of just writing a thought leadership piece or educational piece for LinkedIn. So I think people must not try to do too much too fast, basically. Maybe focus on one channel and try to get it right.
That's another problem I see so many entrepreneurs doing is I need to be on Facebook, I need to be on LinkedIn, I need to be on Instagram, I need to be on Twitter, well, X, whatever that is. And you burn yourself out literally producing content that might not be very useful, you know. Is there a way that or like a tip to make sure that your content is, or like a way to tell if it's not aligned with your goals?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. So I think initially when a lot of people set up, say like their brand strategies, they want to be certain things, or like for like personal brand or for themselves, like you want to be certain things. But it's again good to ask people, what are you seeing? Like, say, looking at these brand pillars in my content, like what do you see coming across? And constantly kind of like auditing what you're doing. That's why I always encourage any client who I do, say, like social media for, you have to do that every month, like at the end of the month, do a report, look at what's working. And you know, don't just do certain types of content because you like it. Like, if I really want like X content, but no one's engaging with it, then stop doing it. Continue with something that is working and try to create different versions of that content. So it's always about learning from what your audience is telling you and not just kind of thinking you're right, and going with something that's obviously broken.
Like in terms of reporting, if I'm new to like figuring out what kind of analytics can I track, like what are the right ones to tell me, hey, this is the right kind of content?
I'm not the expert here. I would say like my partner does all the reports. She's really great at it. She's like a performance marketer. But I mean, for us, like we choose every month, not every month, but almost, like looking at what metric we want to improve. So I think that's also a good kind of like something to think about. If like, what is the goal? So like with our Instagram, do we want people to save more of our content because it's educational in the sense that it's like how-tos or helps them later that month when they're looking for the perfect look, or that kind of thing? Or are we looking for comments? Because comments, I mean, that is something that really build that audience engagement. I think it's really about choosing the metrics you want to work on, like from month to month, like looking at your analytics and then thinking about how can I then improve my commenting without forcing it. You also don't want to force it. So, because I know a lot of times on like LinkedIn, people are like, comment below. Sometimes people don't want to comment, whereas when you write something probably that's very thought provoking, then people just comment organically. So it's really about then potentially putting that aside a little bit. Let's not use this. Let's think more about the type of content we can create that generates like people on Instagram, like sending it to each other. More audience inclusion in our content. And it's like, ooh, I saw you in this video. Let me send this on. and like building that brand awareness in that sense.
Any metric can be important, but as long as you're tracking it and like testing things in between. Amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I could get carried away asking you questions all night, Marisa. But I think it's time for us to move into the flop or fix segment, where we're going to pass over to the audience. For those of you still watching, if you're enjoying, please remember to like and subscribe. And then we'll take some audience questions. Ali said that she's just starting to build her brand for the very first time, and she doesn't even know what to do. What is day one, step one?
Is that like in terms of content?
Yes,
Or
content.
a lot of people would say, okay, let's start at what goals you have for your brand and for your content. But sometimes you don't even know what those are yet. So, or what they should be, or yeah, it's figuring it out. So I think it is always a good way to start. It's like to look at what everyone else is doing, what the trends are, and like what potentially you could do where you feel comfortable creating that content. That depends if you're doing it yourself or if you have someone helping you. But then kind of just it can be very rough. It can be on a piece of paper, saving ideas on Instagram, LinkedIn, things that you like, and kind of like putting that all down and then just refining that down and maybe seeing, okay, if themes come out, like say a business that's similar to hers, she likes this idea, and then something that like a personal, like a content creator is doing, she liked that idea, and seeing how she can apply that to her brand. But ultimately, what I think works really great is like all these ideas, but then go back to like what my business does and how I can implement all of those ideas every step of the way. What is their kind of like pitch to others, say like, is it B2C, is it B2B, and how do they want to present that content? So it's definitely like a hard look at yourself and your business, you know, and like looking at how that content can really work for you. But yeah, I think that's a good place to start. Look at your competitors and what everyone else is doing, and seeing like where you could potentially fit in and stand out within that space.
That's a really, really good way to get started. We have another one. How do influencers just make content without any strategy? Do you have any insight into that?
I think it depends on the creator. So I think what might look like no strategy is actually some strategy, because there's small things that I've noticed that influencers do. They'll be paid for X amount of exposure. And then when they wear the item again, uh, they won't tag you necessarily. They'll tag like a different brand because they're wearing something else. And then sometimes intentionally they'll add copy over the image. I don't know how intentional it is always, but so that you can't kind of like reuse that image. Some people, they just have that ability to like the everyday life is just captivating to others, so then I think it doesn't seem like strategy. But a lot of people are quite specific about how they curate that. Sometimes it just comes naturally to them, sometimes it is something they maybe have learned from and they know what works in terms of engagement on their stories, or like stories that have gotten them brand deals or like recognition. So I think there's definitely method in the madness, even though it sometimes doesn't look like it. But influencers are definitely become, or like are very strategic in like the way they carve out like their little space in the world. So yeah.
That's true. I would love to one day learn that trick, but I'm convinced you have to have it in your DNA to be an influencer.
Born with it. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like Maybelline, not Maybelline.
Yeah.
So this one's kind of related. Have you ever been paid to make content for another brand on social media? If so, how can you find partnerships? I assume this isn't like paid for content strategy. This is like on for social branding.
Yeah. So I haven't, like, as a content creator, been paid for creating content for other brands. Just creating in terms of like they're my clients and I work with them to create content. Like a lot of people wait for brands to come to them. But what we've experienced is a lot of smaller creators have contacted us and asked us if they can create content for us. So then with some people we partner, with some people we don't. And sometimes we test also to see like, okay, what kind of content will they create for us? And if it's a flop, then we won't work with them again. But if it works, then we'll think of new ways to kind of like collaborate in future. But yeah, it's definitely worth like reaching out because a lot of brands, small brands, then it might be like a product exchange, a trade exchange, whereas some small creators we have paid not millions of rands, but we do pay because we're like, the content they create, even though the following is not that big yet, is really great. Like great pictures, great videos. So yeah, so worth reaching out.
I agree. I've actually always been surprised how many people say yes if you dare to just ask.
Exactly. No, because otherwise they won't know that you're interested. So why not?
100%. 100%. Well, I've just looked at the clock, and unfortunately, that's going to have to be a wrap on this month's Scrappy Systems. Thank you so much, Marisa, for your time. It's been so lovely to talk to you today. I feel like I've totally grilled you on everything content related. Will you tell us about what you're working on right now, where people can find out more about what you're working on and your brands?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I'm on LinkedIn, Marisa Crous. Definitely connect with me there. And then also with, like spicyava.com. We sell outfit garnish, so fashion accessories. We're building out this business. And then also you can follow us on Instagram, spicyava_. Yeah, so we're launching almost a new product every month. So we're working on our next product launch, which is still a bit of a secret, but there will be a lot of content on that soon. So yeah, so there's always something on the go, and yeah, I just love the learning process along the way. So I'd love to learn from you guys as well. So please let me know your thoughts on this as well, and feedback will be great.
Thank you so much. I would recommend go follow on Instagram if you want to learn what it looks like when someone's clearly having fun when they're making their content. Go have a look at Spicy Ava. If you would like more on-demand marketing support for your business and to improve your own solopreneur systems, please join us in the Candid community. We have a free membership for anyone who would like to join. I'd like to send a big thank you to Candid Collab for sponsoring Scrappy Systems this evening. They really make it possible to help us dig into the lives of real entrepreneurs and find out just what makes their marketing systems tick. Please like and subscribe, comment if you're enjoying. Have a great evening, everybody.